I spent 4 years defending his policies, and
Thank you.
I'm going to defend them again tonight. And actually, and I'm pretty straightforward, I love Trump, like as a person. I think Trump is funny and insightful, and I said this to Trump when he called me, all wounded about those texts. That was a moment in time where I was absolutely infuriated.
I was just mad. It was a crime of passion. That was Tucker Carlson speaking to WABC Radio and professing his love for Trump. Note, as a person. More on that later. But Tucker is clearly doing damage control over his text messages that explicitly said that he did not love Trump. In fact, he said, and I quote, "I hate him passionately." I guess there's a thin line between love and hate, and that line is the profit line. But it looks like primetime Klansman is worried that his audience will figure out that he's just a sniveling suit of lies who will say or do anything for ratings. Because thanks to the Dominion Voting Systems lawsuit against the Fox News Corporation, we now have a bunch of text messages showing that the Fox News execs and on-air hosts knew that the election wasn't stolen, knew the conspiracies were bogus, and privately fumed about Trump and January 6th, including Carlson, who on air was saying this.
These are people who believe the election was stolen. They certainly had reason to think that.
But that profession of passionately hating Trump continued with a really revealing line, saying what he's good at is destroying things. We're all pretending we've got a lot to show for it because admitting what a disaster it's been is too tough to digest. There hasn't been an upside to Trump. Wow. That doesn't sound like Tucker was mad. It sounds like he was doing some intense self-reflection, the only time he can since he's obviously taken down all the mirrors in his home. He thinks Trump's been a disaster? Welcome to the resistance, a-hole! But then Tucker admits that they have to keep pretending that they have a lot to show for it when they don't. In other words, pretending that the right has been really good for their movement, for Republicans, for their grand plans to swindle us, but not in such like a tacky manner where it tears down all of democracy, but where it like slowly dismantles it bit by bit. But here's where Tucker is just wrong when he says he has nothing to show for the Trump years. Because while the rest of us have way more grays, Tucker has money. His $6 million salary and a net worth of $40 million that he's earned by pretending that the emperor does have clothes on and isn't just a radicalized sea urchin who lost its shell and found its way to a podium. Every day, Tucker Carlson eats a bowl of Trump's lies and regurgitates it back into his audience like an evil mama bird. Just... And according to the text messages, the one thing he can't digest is what a disaster Trump's been. In other words, you can't digest that you were wrong, so he'd rather keep gorging himself and his audience on all the lies. But in the radio interview, Tucker continued, arguing that his text messages were just a heat-of-the-moment thing and his real opinions are totally transparent.
I was mad. That was a moment in time. And I will say this, my comments on TV, I think my texts reflect who I am. I'm vulgar in public, in private rather, and I use like bad language and stuff. I've worked in a newsroom my whole life, and my wife's always trying to improve me, which is fair. But my views are pretty transparent. I always say what I think.
Oh, I think that he is transparent, actually. I think he does hate immigrants and women and black people for sure. But I do not for a second buy Tucker's line on Trump. Because why in text messages did he say that he wants nothing more than to ignore Donald Trump, but then admitted he was going to defend him that very night? I know why. It's the Trump trap that so many media are invested in. Because say what you will about him, Trump is good for ratings. We all know this. And Tucker, like so many others, doesn't want to lose out. He can't move on because Trump is just too good. It doesn't matter how extremist or how many people have to die or how many militias storm the Capitol or how many people die at the hands of Nazi dweebs in khakis. He's not gonna let that cash cow go. And neither is Fox News. And a lot of media are guilty of this, using Trump to garner ratings, even though it's terrible for our country and it's terrible for our brains and our hearts and our souls and just like everything, life. The former head of CNN admitted it as much, saying Trump is terrible for America, but good for ratings. There you have it. But note how Tucker gave himself an out, saying he loves Donald Trump as a person.
I love Trump. Like as a person.
Uh-oh. What does that mean? Does that mean the private Tucker is going to become the public Tucker? It just depends on if there's more money in it. Fox News host revealed disgusting fact about his marriage. That was my last video, and you should watch that now. And if you like me, listen to my podcast, The Bituation Room, and make sure to follow me everywhere at Franny Fio.